Y'all, hey, welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for stopping by. Y'all, I got a new toy and I want to tell you about it, but first I have to tell you that I am full on the worst friend ever because I didn't wait for y'all to get here to unbox my new toy and start playing with it, because I got the new SuperNote Nomad, the A6x2. A6x2, the little one. And I was so excited that I pulled it out of the box and put it together and started using it. And now I love it and I want to tell you all about it. But I feel like we should do an unboxing. So I'm going to do a dramatic reenactment of my unboxing. But before I do that, y'all go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you can keep up with the shenanigans. I'm gonna take this thing apart, put it in the box, get us set up on another camera so you can see, well, you'll see why we're gonna do all that. So I promise it'll be worth it. Y'all roll your eyes back in your head and sit tight for just a second and I will be right back. See what I mean? Look how cute this is. So here's the box. Like when you take it straight out of the UPS box, this is the box you get. And it's got like little drawers in it, and that's where all your things are. And so when you get it, they all have these tabs that you pull out. Now obviously I pulled out the tabs and ripped off the cellophane, so mine don't have tabs anymore. But let's bust into it and see what we got. I know, y'all quit it out. So the top one says, feel, find, free, fun. And we see that it's our A6X. So let's open it. And you got your little quick start guide and it says, don't panic, we got you. So quick start guide like tells you what to do and it tells you what not to do. So there's that. And then here's the thing. And y'all, I thought about like resetting it, like factory resetting it so you could see what it was like when it first comes out of the thing, but then I was like, all right, they know I've been using it. Like there's no need to be that hokey. So here's the thing, and look, it comes with either a clear back or there's one that's like a solid white back. And I figured out, well, hang on, let's go through this. So you can like see the gubbins of the thing. And that I believe is a micro SD slot. And I think that's like the actual like brains gubbin, like that's the like working thing. And then I think that's the battery. This is me totally guessing things. And then you see there are screws. There are like 12 screws. And it comes with an I am not a pen. You see the I am not a pen? The I am not a pen is a little screwdriver that they give you so that you can get into the thing, right? So you can unscrew your screws and get in there and like mess around with it, replace your battery, put in your SD card if you want to, whatever you want to do. Now, so the clear one, you have to like unscrew the screws to get into it. The white one, the back, I believe just like clips off and on for you to get in there and mess with your things. Y'all, for me, that would just be begging for trouble because I have yet to actually like take the thing off and mess with it, but if all I had to do was snap that back off and mess with it, I already would have this thing apart all over the house, broken into 9 pieces, like, oh, I can put that back together, and then crying to the intern to put it back together for me. So for me, this is a much safer option. You can see here it's got magnets, and you'll see in a minute, did y'all see those, the magnets? And you'll see in a minute where those go. But anyway, so that's the thing. Here's the power button at the top. And where the, the charger cord plugs in. Charger cord, what? The USB-C. Of course it's USB-C, and look, it's got this fancy little one. Look how it goes. Like it's I don't know, I just like how that is. Like it plugs in all fancy like. So I really like that. I just like some of I feel like they think through just some nice touches on the thing like that, right? They could have just stuck in a plain old USB-A to USB-C, just the plain old like straight ones that you get with all the things that you buy. But they just go through that extra little bit of effort. Now, it ain't cheap. You pay for that extra little bit of effort, but I feel like it's just nice. So that's what's in the box. What's in the box? That's what's in this box. Let's move on to the next box. So I'm forgetting to put back my I am not a pen. I ordered the like a whole package thing, and it came with the SuperNote, the Nomad, and a folio. So let's look at the folio. Now, when I ordered it, there was only one color of folio. I'm not bitter, y'all. If I seem bitter about this, I'm not bitter. I might be a little bit bitter, but it was gray. Gray was my option. So the secret to happiness is freedom. The secret to freedom is courage. I had the courage to order the gray folio because it was my only option. Now, I got an email the other day that said they now have a pink one and maybe a blue one. I had the courage to order that too, let me just tell you. So that'll be here, but not before I edit this and get it up on the interwebs. So this, y'all, if you're familiar with the A5X and probably the first A6X, you'll know that it has like a rail on the back, and you're actually on this side, a rail on the back, and you slide the thing onto the folio by sliding it down that rail. Well, looky here, magnet, 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 bam. Bob's your uncle, you are in like Flynn. So that's all there is to that. It is a smart folio. It is completely unnecessary and I love it. And I actually have my A5X here because I wanted to show you. They match. So I'm not terribly sad that I got the gray folio because it matches with the gray folio that I have for the big one. But the instant I saw the pink one, I was like, yes, please. So I know we're taking forever doing this, and it is a dramatic reenactment, y'all. I'm dramatically reenacting this thing. So there's those. And oh my word, y'all, the pen. I just love how, so Rata is the company that owns, makes, does whatever, SuperNote. They're the SuperNote company. And I love how they do pens. So we'll get into this. We talked about this on the A5X. I went through the whole, I'll link it here, the whole, like my thoughts on the A5X, which I've had for coming up on a year now. Spoiler alert, I love it. I love the big one, I love the little one, I love them. It's got a soft, like the surface is soft, and you write on it with these hard nibbed styluses, pens. I call it a pen. It's not a pen. I know it's not a pen, but it's a stylus. It's an EMR stylus. And it's just plain old regular EMR technology. So if you've seen my other videos where I didn't bring it down here, but where I use that like Dr. Grip's pen, like the Dr. Grip's EMR pen, or I've got half a dozen EMR pens floating around the house. This is that same technology, but this is a really hard ceramic nib. So one, you should never have to replace it unless you drop it. Here, I'll see if I can show y'all up here. Unless you drop it straight down on the nib. It's ceramic. It's like a ceramic knife, right? You never have to replace or sharpen a ceramic knife unless you drop it on the blade, and then it will shatter into a million pieces, just like the million pieces of your heart as you watch your favorite ceramic blade shatter. Not that that's ever happened to me. I'm just saying, and I'm working my way through it. But anyway, so these will break if you drop them on the nib, which is one reason I love this. It's retractable. But look, you can see the gubbins. I don't know why I can't show you on this camera. You can still see the gubbins of it, but it's protected. So what is wrong with me? I don't know. So that comes in this cute little box, which I now can't open. And it says, can y'all see that? The pen is mightier than the sword, because of course it is. And it's just, again, y'all, I just feel like this is a lovely presentation. Now, we have so much to talk about. We do not have time to sit here and yammer about how lovely this presentation is. So now let me get my thing put back together. Let me get us set up somewhere where we can get a look at the device. And then we'll talk about, y'all already know I love it, but let's talk about the things that I love about the A6X, all right? So let me get settled, let me get set up, and I'll be right back. All right, y'all, we are set up, we're settled down. Let's talk about this thing. So I've talked about the SuperNote before. I talked about the A5X, how much I love it. I've talked about it in depth a bit. I've linked it already, but we've talked before about how the SuperNotes are designed to do specific things. They call it this, for those who write, right? So they are meant as a distraction reducing or distraction limiting device for writers. So I think that the designers and the engineers are very specific and very intentional about what they allow to be added to this device. So you don't have access to the Play Store. There are some apps that you can get on here. You can get the Kindle, which we've talked about before. I don't like reading on the SuperNote. There are other like big old e-ink tablets that I like reading on much more than I like reading on the SuperNote. But you can use a Kindle on it. And there's a new app called, I think it's called the Atelier, that it's a drawing app, which we'll talk about a little bit, but I don't have much to say about it because I'm not an artist. So they've started to add additional apps to it, but again, I think they're very intentional about the apps that they add and the access that they allow. Hopefully at some point they'll maybe add some kind of reading aggregator, so like an app that'll aggregate your reading notes, like maybe Readwise or something like that, but I don't expect soon or really ever to have actual access to the Play Store. Now you can sideload apps. I don't do that because all I do on here is read and write, and I can read and write with the apps, like with the access that I have. So I guess I just kind of wanted to get that caveat out of the way, that this is a device designed for reading and writing. I believe that it does that very, very well, and I don't know that it really does much of anything else. So with that in mind, let's jump into this thing. Now, I do at some point want to do a deep dive, but that point is not this point. I don't want to do that today. I just want to like give some sort of high points of what I really love about this device. And I want to talk about how I use this device in conjunction with the big A5X. So let's jump into this thing. So again, this is the Nomad. It's the A6x2. Now, I don't have an A6X, like not the 2, the sort of the original version of it. I do have the A5X, so like the big one. And the differences between the A5X and the A6x2, other than just the size, y'all, I'm completely in love with. So I'm going to touch on some of those, but again, I'm going to do a deep dive at some point and we'll talk about all of those things. And I'm going to go ahead and say that as of right now, you can no longer get the A5X. SuperNote is supposedly, well, I believe that they are working on an A5X2, and y'all, I'm so afraid that when that thing hits the market, I'm gonna buy it, even though I have no excuse for buying another device. My A5X is perfectly fine, but I'm so in love with the A6X2 and the tiny differences between the A5X and the A6X2 that I'm pretty sure that as soon as that thing hits the market, I'm gonna buy one. But y'all just stay tuned and we'll see what happens there. But anyway, let's get into this thing. So I'm gonna hit the button and wake it up, and we're gonna jump straight into my planner. Y'all don't worry about my day. Don't worry about what I have going on. So this is, look, down here at the bottom, dogs groom. My dogs are at the groomer. I'm so lonely. The furry felons are, you might notice a lack of like little tink, tink, tink nails on the floor. Yeah, my house is so empty. Anyway, but here's one thing that you will notice here is, we've talked about this before. You'll notice that I starred dog groomers, and that's one thing that these devices do very, very well. And that's, I guess, cataloging things. So I starred that, and now I can go in and look at all of my, I think stars are highlights. They're either highlights or annotations. They're annotations. So I tell it show stars, and it'll show everything that I have starred. It's loading them. And then I can jump to them. So like right here, I had both shots starred. So anytime I have an important, within my planner anyway, anytime I have an event that I need to remember, I write it down on the date. So that was the March 19th, which was a Tuesday. I write it on the date, I star it, and then I can always go back to my starred events and pull those up, which I know y'all are like, did you just jump straight in and tell us that without telling us anything else? I'm going to forget later to tell you that. So I like how this device allows you to sort of cross-reference and catalog things, and we're going to talk about that later. So just sort of file away the star thing. Just put that in the back of your head for now, because I want to talk about how this is a 7.8-inch device. So I'm going to show you it. We did this before, but I'm going to hold it up to the A5X. So the A5X is kind of like regular notebook paper size. So can you see the difference? You can see that this one is a little smaller. If you remember, y'all, okay, Gen X, stand up, Gen X boomers, y'all remember when we were in high school and we were told that you had to learn shorthand if you were gonna go anywhere in the world? Well, remember those shorthand notebooks? That's about the size of this thing. Remember those steno pads you had to get for shorthand class? That's about the size of the A6X. I know A6X is like an actual size of paper, but normal people don't know that size. So it's about the size of a steno pad. It's, of course, 300 PPI. And I don't think you can see it at all, but can you see how it's kind of got like a matte surface to it? It's got, I believe it's called the Feel Right, is the proprietary screen protector that SuperNote has on here. And y'all, I don't know any other way to describe it other than that it's a little bit sticky. And at first I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this. But as I started writing on it, the feel of that little bit of stickiness, that just little bit of friction that it gives you with the ceramic nib of the pen, it is absolutely delightful. And y'all, I don't even use the word delightful. I don't know where that just came from, but it is just absolutely delightful to write on. I love it. And really, I'm afraid that's what's going to get me to buy the A5X2 when it comes out, that it's probably, I mean, they have to put that thing on it, right? So yeah, it is absolutely lovely. So anyway, I wish I hadn't jumped the gun and y'all could have seen the setup, but it is super easy setup out of the box. I think I did a setup when I unboxed the A5X, so go back and look at that, sorry. We talked about the ceramic nib. Whilst we're comparing, the A6X is just a little bit thinner than the A5X. Can you see kind of see them side by side here. Someone asked me, because I've mentioned before that I leave my A5X on my desk, I don't carry it around, and it was actually that video that caused me to go buy the Nomad, but I don't feel like the A5X is too big and chunky to carry around. I don't know why I keep talking about the A5X. That's not the point of this video, but carrying that tablet is like carrying like a single subject notebook. Remember in school, like sometimes in like a lab class, you'd have to have like one of those single subject notebooks. It feels very much like carrying one of those. That thickness, that weight, that size. And the A6X is just a little bit thinner and a little bit smaller than that, significantly smaller than that. Here are some things that I love about this tablet. So we've talked before about how when you write, you can just set 2 fingers on the device, and like while you're writing, if you're like blah, 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 period, blah, 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 and you're like, oh, that's not the word I meant, you just put down 2 fingers, circle what you want to erase, and then it does an area erase. And that's on the A5X as well. Well, on the A6X, you have this. So the A5X has just the swipey bar on one side. The new one has the swipey bar on both sides. And this swipey bar gives you some other controls, but one of the things that it does is it gives you an additional 2-finger control. So I have it set so that my 2-finger control on this side is a lasso tool. So instead of having to go to the toolbar, choose my lasso tool, and then lasso something, I can do it with a 2-finger command while I'm writing or drawing or doing something. And y'all, I know you're like, what kind of dork is like having a fit about having to actually stop and touch something on a toolbar? You would be amazed at how much it affects your train of thought to have to like get out of what you're thinking, go do that, and then go back into what you're writing versus just finger touch, do it, and keep moving. Like once you get used to using that 2-finger touch, it's weird to have to do anything else in a different tablet. So you can set your left side swipey bar to either be like the 2 fingers for your area erase, or 2 fingers for your lasso tool, or nothing. So I have mine. I wanted the consistency across the devices to where I put 2 fingers on the device for the area erase. So I decided to have my 2 fingers on the swipey bar for the lasso tool. But again, you can do it either way, and especially if you don't have the A5X, it doesn't matter, right? You're not used to using 2 fingers on the device to erase, so you can set it up either which way you want it. Let's talk about this, the left side swipey bar. So it gives you a bunch of different controls. I think I probably, you know what, let me go into a note because it's going to have more pages. So we can see what it does for pages. Let me find a note with multiple pages. This will have one. So if I single finger press on the sidebar, it activates the page turn, and then I can turn up and down pages. Or if I just swipe, see, it's telling me nothing to undo. If you just swipe down, it undoes your last, oh, that's redoing. If you swipe up, it undoes your last, whatever the last thing you did was. You swipe down, it redoes it. So that's another way. That's a different option for erasing. Y'all saw it took me 3 swipes there to get my area erase to work. It's because the thing's at an odd angle. You have to get your fingers kind of within reason, just right to get it to work. But so the sidebar will let you swipe through pages or erase and replace whatever it was you just did. The right side toolbar, or like swipe, I call it a swipey bar. I don't know what it's really supposed to be called. If you swipe down, that's your quick access. So this is how I always jump back and forth, like between my, this is the last, remember the last page that we were on? We were on Tuesday, March 19th, because that was when Bo got his shots. So you can pin documents here for easy access. So I have, these were vlog notes from a video that I shot a couple weeks ago. So this allows you quick access to jump around. You can go to your to-do list here. You can get to your calendar. I don't use this calendar, but you can get into your files from here. There are lots of sort of menu shortcuts that you have over here. And I love this one. So let me get into, you know what, let's just go back to the, I don't know, I'm always on the calendar. That's what it's on when it sits on my desk. So I don't know, I feel like that's my home page. If I swipe up, it refreshes the screen. So it's a quick refresh. So swipe down is that shortcut, swipe up is a quick refresh. Love it. Let's talk about the menu. I'm going to move it to the top of my screen just because there's a whole lot going on over on that side of the screen on this planner, and I don't want to be mashing all the wrong things. So one of the things that I love about this is that I have access to multiple pins, like all at one time. So I always use this fine liner, and I have it on super skinny because I write so big. So if I don't have like a tiny nib, then I write too big and my writing looks ridiculous. But you have lots of control here. So you can control the thickness of your nib. You can control, I gotta put it back down. You can control the color. So I write in black, but you can write in gray, and you can, you're probably like, what? I know. You can actually see the difference, look. That's black over gray. So, erase that. So that's the fine liner. Here's like a regular, this, to me, this is sort of like a ballpoint pen. And then a marker. Look at that. That's like writing on a freaking X-Acto on a big old whiteboard. Here's a highlighter, eraser. You can choose your different options for erasing, how you want to erase. Here's your area eraser. So if you don't want to bother with the 2-finger touch, because it can be a little, I mean, y'all see, mostly because of how I have the thing sitting, but like I can miss that 2 fingers at times. So it can be a little annoying. So if you don't want to deal with the like 2-finger touch thing, you can just touch the area eraser up here and it'll erase. Your lasso tool, this is pretty powerful. So within the lasso tool, I have options to copy, cut. I can make keywords, which I've talked about that in other videos. That's another way to sort of categorize information to make it easier to find later. Again, we'll do that on a deep dive, y'all. There's so much to talk about here. You can also trash can, just delete something, and then let's put that back because that's in my planner. So if the intern's like, hey, when did Bo get his shots last? I can go back and find it. So there's that. You got your undo and redo, obviously. You can decide which gestures you want to use to control your device in here. More controls in here. You know what? Let's go into a note because we're missing some stuff. Let's just open a note. So you'll see, and I'm not going to, I can leave the controls on the side here because there's not a whole bunch of junk over here, like a whole bunch of hot links like in that planner. So lasso tool we talked about, layers. So you can, the SuperNote recognizes layers. So you can do things in different layers of your document. And one of the things that I love about layers is templates. So you can add a template. Obviously, I've got the lined paper template in this one. But you can use different templates, and y'all, you can make your own templates, which, you know what, let me just show you instead of doing all that. You can make your own templates. Like I have a template that I use that I just dragged in as a PDF and made it into a template. So it's in my customization, so I can add it as a template if I want to use it in one of my notes. So that's fabulous. Backwards and forwards. There's the templates. Here we can see this is really powerful. You can, so if you have like a 15-page document, this will let you see all of those pages. So if you need to move pages around, or if you want to jump to a page and you don't know exactly where it is you want to jump to, but you know what it looks like, you can just do that and see all your pages at once. I can delete my current page, which I don't want to do, so I'm going to get out of there before I do something that I don't mean to do. So y'all, there are lots of controls that you have just from this toolbar. Like I said, I don't want to do a deep dive here. We'll do that another time. I just want to show you a couple of other things. So I can go into sort of the overview and see all the things on my tablet and navigate from here. Like if I want to go into my notes, I can do that from here. If I'm like, hang on, what templates do I even have in here? I can go into my style, which is where when I download a template, or if I download anything, that's where it sticks it. So I can do that from here. Some super powerful things about this device. Let's go into this top menu. So settings over here, my account, that's just your account stuff. This, y'all, huge. So you can sync, obviously you can sync, all of these have a way to sync the device with some sort of cloud-based storage, right? This is the SuperNote cloud. They're obviously their proprietary cloud thing, but you can also sync with your Dropbox account, your Google Drive account, or your OneDrive account. Now, this is how I keep my 2 devices in sync, and we'll talk about that in a minute because I think that's kind of a big deal, and from what I've read online, people struggle with doing that. This is how I do it. There might be other ways to do it. There might be easier ways to do it. This is just how I do it. So we'll get back to that in a minute. But yeah, so just all the basic things. Wi-Fi, your device settings. You can control your displays here, security stuff. Your battery information is here. System information. Here are the apps. So SuperNote App Store, y'all. Yeah, there's the Atelier. Now I downloaded it, But like I said, I am not an artist, so I defer to other artists on this. I have heard artists talk about how this is a vast improvement over trying to draw on the sort of native just SuperNote itself, that it's much better. There are some things they still want to see, but folks are really liking it. So from here, you can send feedback directly to SuperNote. I've never done that, but maybe I'll try it sometime. And then, of course, the user's manual, which nobody ever actually uses, is there. All right, so let's go into, oh, one thing I want to talk about. Let's go into, you know what, let's just make a note. So when you create a note, you have the option to do either standard or real-time recognition. I generally do standard, but I want to do real-time recognition here because I want to show y'all something. So I did RR, real-time recognition, because I want to do, I'm gonna have to move this so I can write. Can y'all still, yeah, you can still see that. Test, text, conversion. Because I think this is pretty slick. I never do it, but I still think it's pretty cool. So test text conversion. The SuperNote does real-time, like writing to text conversion. Now, let's say this wasn't like the word that I meant. I can go back, change it, convert. Let's say I wanted to say converting, text converting. There are two dots there. Let's see what it does with those two dots. Might just ignore one. Test text converting. Y'all, it's super slick. A lot of times my handwriting, like I do that Gen X thing where like you write in print and then you write in script and like it kind of mushes together. So sometimes it doesn't recognize my like hybrid handwriting, but that's more me than the device. I think if I did more text conversion, it would learn my handwriting better, but I just don't do that. I just leave things in my handwriting. But I love that it does like on the fly text conversion. I think that's very, very cool. So I wanted to show y'all that. And well, you saw the writing. The lag on this thing, I think, is minimal. So the time between when I write and when the ink shows up or the color shows up is almost none, which to me makes it so much easier to write the way you write. Because like when you write with a pen on paper or a pencil on paper, as you're writing, you're seeing the shapes that you're forming, right? So like your mind doesn't have to picture what it looks like. You know what it looks like because you see it. And sometimes when you write on e-ink, there's just that teeny tiny little lag. So you're not really seeing what you're writing. So sometimes for me, my handwriting doesn't really look like my handwriting in e-ink because I think it's because of that lag and because of the feel of the pen on the surface is just too slick. To me, this is perfect. I love it. That just little bit of tension, that little bit of drag from this new surface is absolutely beautiful. It's self-healing. So I have yet to actually, knock on wood, like gouge it. So there hasn't been any like need for it to heal itself. But I love that when I write, I can feel that I'm writing, but it's got just a little bit of give. And my handwriting looks like my handwriting when I write on this thing. I don't know how else to say that. Again, I don't know about drawing. I want to say drawing. Like, y'all remember that SNL skit from like the 80s? My name is, what was his name? Was it Stuart? And I like to do drawings. Anyway, I don't do drawings. I'm not a drawer. So, but again, from what I've heard, the new app, well, here, I'll show you the drawing app. Let's see. Let's get into it. Let's get out of this and go into Atelier. Oh, well, let's refresh that. Oh, this is my drawing from before. So I don't know if it doesn't do two-finger erase. Okay, Atelier apparently doesn't recognize two-finger gestures. I thought for a second that that was just ghosting from what I just did, but no, that was my drawing from before, because I'm that talented. But y'all, I don't want to talk about this app at all because I know nothing about it, other than that I downloaded it, and this is what it looks like. Oh, look at this grayscale. Of course, the I almost said machine, the tablet's black and white, or it's black, right? It's a black and, do you call it black and white? It's grayscale e-ink. It is not color. So if you do a drawing, you're going to do it in grayscale. Anyway, let's get out of this. This is a complete and utter waste of time. And I want to talk about both shots syncing. So the reason that I bought this smaller tablet was to carry it around, because I don't carry, I think I just heard my dogs. I might stop for a second if my dogs are coming in. But I got the Nomad because I wanted to use it as sort of my take-along tablet and still leave the A5X on my desk, but I wanted them to sync. And I did very little research before I started doing this. All right, here come the felons. Y'all hang on a second. All right, sorry about that. The furry felons are in fact home. I don't know if y'all can, hang on. There's felon number 1 and felon number 2. They got their hair cut. Anyway, let's wrap this up. So, as I was saying, my goal was to leave the A5X here on my desk, use that like on the desk, like as my sort of office thing, and then use the Nomad as my like mobile device. But I didn't really do much or any research about syncing them before I made the purchase. Then once I had made my order, I started reading about people having issues with syncing. And at first my syncs weren't all that slick. Like the Nomad would have some error message, like it would throw up some kind of error message and some of my writing would be missing. And that just wasn't going to work for me because, as you can see, I write all the things on my planner and I handwrite them. Well, I realized that an option was to use the native calendar where you type stuff, but then I was like, I don't want to do that. Like, that's just not how I live my life. So I figured out, and there might be an easier way to do this. This is just what works for me. So I figured out that if I sync using, oh, dang it, I just synced. I didn't mean to do that. Well, that's the syncing process anyway. You just swipe it down and hit that little button right there, and that syncs your things. I think I can go on. So I realized that what I wanted to do was get into settings. If I used my, I don't know what made me think to do this, but I realized that I could use my Google Drive, which I was going to use anyway, because we didn't really talk about this, but not to be Captain Obvious, but if you sync your, like if you give your SuperNote access to your Google Drive, Dropbox, whatever it is that you use for your documents, you can go into a document on here, work on that document, upload your changes back to Google Drive or save it back to Google Drive, and then open it on your other devices and, you know, sort of switch seamlessly back and forth between devices. So I was like, why would it not work if I use Google Drive to sync my SuperNote? So I sync it using, actually I do two different things. I sync it using my SuperNote Cloud sync and using my Google Drive, because I want a copy of everything on my Google Drive just in case, I don't know, just because I like keeping all of my things on my Google Drive. But I also have it in the SuperNote Cloud because it's super easy to go into that SuperNote Cloud and like move things around, upload, download, manipulate things in there. So inside either one of these, you just go in and you tell it what you want to sync, which folders you want to sync, and then you save your changes. And then when you sync, which you just saw the sync, it goes in and syncs all of those folders. And y'all, after I did that, I've had no problem with keeping my devices in sync. And of course, you have to be mindful of, like if you make changes on one device, you sync that one and then you sync the other one, right? Because you want to save the changes that you've made into whichever cloud sync you're using so that the documents are changed in the cloud before you sync your second device and sort of pull down those changes, right? So I think as long as you're mindful of where you've made the changes, save those changes, and then bring the changes to the other device through a sync, it's a fairly simple process. So I haven't had any problems with it once I started, like went in and actually set up my syncs and, you know, checked off my folders and stuff. So I hope that made sense. I hope that's at least somewhat helpful. That's how I use my A6X and my A6X2, my Nomad, and my A5X together. And y'all, I've really enjoyed using these two devices. I want to show you one more thing, and then we're going to get out of here. This is one thing that this device does so well, and that's linking things together. So I showed you the stars, right? That you can star things, and that allows you to get back to sort of important items or important events very quickly. Another thing that you can do very easily is to link things together. So let's say I want to link this breakfast to another document. So you know what, let's talk through that. So all I have to do is remember that I have two fingers here set up to do lasso. So I lasso it, and this little like chain looking thing here, that links it. So I can touch that, and I have different options of where I want to link it to. If I want to link it to another page in the current file, I can do that. I can link it to recent files. Let's say I want to link it to best 0, whatever that is. I can link it there, or let's get back to my breakfast. Oops. This one is super cool, y'all. You can link to web pages. Now, you can't surf the web from here, so you have to know the actual like web link, but you can type it in here and link to that web page from inside your document. So that's super cool. So the ability to link things within the SuperNote is very powerful because it allows you to link your notes, your documents. It allows you to link, like let's say I know that I'm gonna film this vlog on a certain date. So maybe I wanna link this document to a date in my planner. So I can go to recent files, I can go to my planner, and now look, here's a link that takes me to my planner. See? And I can jump right back to that document. So it's a great way to sort of mindfully organize things, right? You can link from your planner straight to things that you might need that day, or to link between notes that you might use together, which for me as a teacher, that is absolutely invaluable. So y'all, those are just a few things that I love about the new Nomad. Like I said, I'm gonna do a deep dive, so let me know in the comments. Do you have one? Do you love it? Did you have one of the other SuperNotes? And if not, what questions do you have about the SuperNote Nomad? Let me know in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. Y'all, thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you made it this far, we are most definitely friends. So go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you can keep up with the shenanigans. I upload food and fitness videos at the beginning of every week, with some book videos sprinkled in between. See you on the next one.